Hello. So today I want to talk about gacha games again, but unlike the previous video, this time it's more of an analyzing video to analyze why maybe you should give gacha games a try or why you should keep away from gacha games. Here I'll also be trying to dissect why gacha games are popular and what aspects of it is the main appeal of a gacha game. So, if you were to look closely at some announcements made by Apple Store and Google Store here and there, we'll notice that some of the top revenues made by in-game purchases in, well, both stores are from various gacha games like Fate Grand Order for several years in a row, in fact. And lately, Genshin Impact, Arknights, Azure Lane, etc. etc. So, why is it that this particular genre of game topping the charts in terms of in-game sales revenue? And why is it so popular? What's the main appeal? What's the reason people keep playing it? And why people even play these games? So, first I'd like to digest what a gacha game is. A gacha game is a game where you can use a certain amount of in-game exclusive, usually currency, or some non-exclusive, but it's usually for the duds. You know, the pulls you don't really care about, but you just pull because, what the heck, kind of, well, pull. So, yeah, that's the kind of game a gacha game is. It has an element of randomness, and in a way, it's similar to lotteries or gambling in real life. And we do know that in real life, gambling, if done excessively, is a problem. It can lead to large loss of money. But why is it popular then? I mean, we all know it's bad, that gambling is bad. So why are we gambling in this game? So I'd like to digest the difference between gacha and gambling. While they do share some similarities between lotteries and gacha games, there is a huge fundamental difference. When you are buying a lottery ticket, you are opting in for a chance at winning the grand prize. Meaning, either you get it or you get a dud. And when you get a dud, poof, your money's gone. Nothing. On the other hand, when you're doing a gacha game, what you're essentially buying is the chance itself at getting something you want. And even if you did not get what you want, you get a dud, you still do get something out of it. And then there's another difference here. When you are gambling, when you are buying lottery tickets, your goal, your objective is most of the time to get money, not for fun. Although gambling can also be done for fun, that is the main difference between gambling and buying lottery tickets. But in the gacha game, there is no chance that you're going to get your money back. None of that. Which means when you're making a decision, a conscious decision to buy something in a gacha game, to buy a certain amount of currency in a gacha game, and you're sinking, let's say, X amount of money in there, you are making a conscious decision that, okay, I have X to spare, so I'm gonna put it in, and I'm just gonna leave it, and that's what I'm going to invest in the game, and I'm going to get whatever the heck I get in the game for that amount of money. Hopefully I get what I want, but I do know that I'm most likely not going to get what I want most of the time. That's just how gacha game works. Therefore, in terms of stress or pressure, you're not under that much stress or that much pressure from loss because you're not trying to get your money back in the first place. You know that you're signing up for that randomness, and there's just, well, that. And then, what's the appeal of gacha games then? Now, if you're to try and play a gacha game, there's two types of players. The ones who read the stories and the ones who don't read the stories. And for me, the appeal of gacha games would drastically change depending on which one you are. Now, if you're the type of person who doesn't really care about the story and you just want to play the game, chances are you're least likely going to spend money on the gacha because you don't really want anything in particular in the gacha. Except if you're, for some reason, a meta player and you just want to top the leaderboards, in which case maybe you'll sink money into the game because you want to be strong. Now, yes, inevitably, a game is ultimately a business, so if you offer the company some money, they might give you some in game advantages, like stronger characters, stronger equipment, stronger weapons, maybe. But ultimately, it's not always the case. And, well, I'll get into that later. What about the other type, the type that likes to read the stories? In which case, you are most likely to find the appeal of the gacha to be more enticing because when a game has a good story, it'll involve the characters. The characters will have character growth, character development, and all of that good stuff. What does that mean though? That means that in the process of playing the game and reading the story, you're going to grow slightly more attached or even fond of certain characters. That is why in most gacha games, when they release a banner, that banner is most likely going to be accompanied by a story quest, a story event, or something of the like that features one of, if not all, of the particular characters. This can be observed in Azur Lane, this can be observed in Fate Grand Order, this can also be observed in the most recent game Genshin Impact. Okay, so I keep mentioning story. Why is story so important to gacha games? Well, here's an analogy. Would you rather spend money on your girlfriend or your wife or, your friends with benefit, or would you rather spend money on some random stranger who's not poor, meaning it's not charity? Chances are you're gonna choose to spend it on your friend with benefit, girlfriend, lover, wife, or whatever. Why? Because you have a certain fondness, a certain attachment to them, unlike, well, a stranger. In the same sense here, you're pinning for a certain character in a game which is locked behind the gacha. I mean, let's think about it. Otherwise, why would anyone with their sane mind spend a random amount of money, usually a large amount of money, to have a chance at randomly getting a character, right? I mean, come on, let's be real. It's gambling. Okay, so gacha game is gambling, it's bad, so we shouldn't play gacha games? No, not exactly. I myself, I enjoy gacha games. In fact, almost all of my games, if not all of my games. That's like, I'm starting to lose the confidence to say that I don't play gacha games. Most of my games, if not all of my games, are gacha games one way or another. Even my PC games have certain gacha elements into it. And we just can't help it. It's just getting more popular. Why? Because one, as observed from that earlier analytics I mentioned, gacha brings in money. So of course it's going to appeal to many more, companies to produce those games because it brings money. What else? Is it good? Is it bad? Now, as a consumer, of course it's bad if a game is paid to win. But that's not how the gacha game works. Yes, you do get a little bit of an advantage, a little bit of a boost. But unless you can actually make use of what you're getting, you're not gonna be winning those games. Like, for example, in Fate Grand Order, it's a game that's notorious for having terrible, and I mean terrible, rates. In fact, even though Genshin Impact has a slightly worse rate, just because it has a pity system in it, it technically has better rates than Fate Grand Order. Like Fate Grand Order doesn't have a pity rate, so if it screws you hard. But yeah, that's what a gacha game is. But a gacha game is just a genre, and if you do watch shows on Netflix or if you watch animes, you're gonna notice that a show usually have more than just one genre. And since gacha game is just one genre, it's gonna be mixed with other genres. So what am I talking about? For example, if I were to take Genshin Impact, Sword Art Online Alicization Licorice, or other games of similar nature like Honkai Impact, that would be concluded as action and gacha. That's a combination of action and gacha. And I guess there's the anime tag or whatever you want to put it in there. And then if we're to take Arknights, it's tower defense and gacha. Fate Grand Order, strategy and gacha and novella. So yeah, a gacha is simply a genre of a game, but it's usually incorporated into another genre as an extra appeal. That way, the company can make quality productions, but also bring in enough money to kind of pay it for itself and gain some revenue out of it too. Okay, so that's gacha games in general. So back to the particular question from the start. Should you go for it, give it a chance, or should you run away from it? Well, here's what I think. If you're a low spender or you're a free-to-play player that you don't want to pay any amount of money at all, then here's the question you want to ask yourself. Do you enjoy stories or not? And do you want to have your way with things or not? In addition to that, are you willing to use your brain and think some strategies or tactics? Are you willing to invest your time in a game to basically get stronger? If yes, yeah, go ahead, give it a try. It's a really nice genre. I enjoy many gacha games. In fact, all of my games, I think, are gacha games. I want to say most, but let's face it, it's probably all. All of my games are gacha games, and there's a reason why, because I enjoy that kind of game. I enjoy the suspense, I enjoy the random element, and I do enjoy thinking up strategies to make my team even more powerful, even though my units are subpar. If you are not someone who enjoys story, if you just want to do competitive gameplay, then no. Stay away from gacha games. It's not a game for you. Now, if you're a whale, do you enjoy stories? If yes, screw all the other questions, just go for it. I mean, what can I say, right? And then another part, if you're a whale, but you don't want to spend too much even though you're a whale. I mean, there's certain tiers of whales, right? If you don't want to be a god whale, then choose your gacha games carefully, because in gacha games there are different types of gacha games. But if I were to divide them into two main categories, it'll be the ones with the pity system and the ones without the pity system. What am I talking about? In some gacha games, there's a pity system where if you roll a certain amount, you are guaranteed to get the unit of the highest rarity or the event unit. On the other hand, some other games do not have this pity system. And if you get screwed over by your luck, that means you get screwed over by your luck hard. Like, no pity, all out. Even if you spend $30,000, if your luck says no, if the game says no, that's a no. You're not getting any top rarity units. Feels bad? Yeah. But arguably one of the most popular game is Fate Grand Order for now, despite Genshin being the trending topic now. If we look at the history and the revenue strictly on that, Fate Grand Order is still a very strong contender, and considering its history and its player base, it's still above Genshin Impact in terms of popularity, at least for now. And the fact is, it has no pity system. Okay, so how about this? You're not a whale, you're a free-to-play, but you just want all of the rare characters just for collection purposes. Okay, there are some games. One game in particular I'd like to recommend is Danmachi Memoria Phrase, or if you want the long version because you're an otaku like me, Danjo ni deai o motomeru no wa machigatte iru nano darou ka? Memoria Phrase. Now, why am I recommending this game in particular is because for your first, fourth, 7th, and 10th pull of each banner usually, or sometimes it's even the first, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th pull, you're wait, never mind, it's the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, and 10th pull, you're guaranteed a top rarity unit, and they also often give away top rarity units for free. So in that case, Even though you're a free-to-play player, you will have access to most of the top character units, at least the ones where you came into the game which the banner is on, or afterwards, because unless they do a rerun, you're not going to get the previous units. But there's power creep in there, so I don't really see why you'd need an older unit unless it's a particularly strong unit or a unit with particularly good utility for your current team. So yeah, that's my recommendation for gacha games.